Hey, empowered survivors. Welcome to the Let's Heal Show. I'm your host, Beth Jones, aka the Healing Mentor. My mission is to inspire and mentor other survivors of trauma and abuse as they walk their healing pathways. I'm here to help you become fiercely devoted to your healing, turning your pain into your power. That's why this show is all about healing. And through our guests, we will explore healing in action. Sometimes I'll share my journey. Other times, we'll hear from fellow survivors about their transformational healing experiences, bringing purpose to their pain and shining light in the darkness of this world. We'll also have conversations with gifted healers and learn about various resources and tools from those who support us on our journeys. So, come on, everybody, let's heal. Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Let's Heal Show. I'm our guest today, and I will share with you my journey to finding my voice and arriving at this point on my path, the launch of this show. Like any good story, I will start at the end. A few months ago, a dear friend told me, if you record your blog post on audio, it becomes a podcast. And if you record a video, you have content for a YouTube channel. Of course, genius. This is where the video is supposed to fade to, oh, there it is, June 2020, where it all began. And now, here's me recording myself reading my first blog post, Finding My Voice to Becoming an Empowered Survivor. It's published on the empoweredsurvivors.com website just a couple of months ago. Getting my story out to those who need to hear it, our community of empowered survivors, began about 1 year into my healing journey. Around this time, I began to realize the power of my story. This understanding came through self-discovery to clarify my purpose and what I meant to do with my power. My life's purpose has included suffering as a victim of trauma and abuse, surviving, and healing, ultimately so that I can teach others about the power of healing and the joy and love available to anyone who chooses to heal. Stepping through the process to find my voice, from speaking my truth for the first time to writing Becoming an Empowered Survivor, has been an extraordinary part of my journey to discover my purpose and find my voice to now live that purpose. My journey to find my voice began the day I told two dear friends about what I had discovered during a hypnotherapy session a couple of weeks earlier about having been sexually abused by my grandfather when I was 5 years old. The day I told them, it may have been the first time that I uttered the words as if I owned them and as if it was my truth. Out of an innate need to begin what became the intense and focused part of my healing journey, I had to tell someone what I had discovered about my truth. My dear friends, Sally and Kate, were the first people I told, along with the sobering reality I had become aware of that I didn't think I knew myself, which turned out to be true. And if I didn't know myself, no one could truly know me. That realization terrified me. Some 9 months later, after coming through an excruciating time as my healing progressed with trauma therapy, I began to have the pulling urge to speak up about how liberating healing had been for me. I wanted to shout at the top of my voice the good news that survivors can heal and find freedom from unhealthy survivorship. But I had trouble finding the right words. So I would simply tell people, I'll find my voice. One day, I reconnected with a friend I hadn't talked to in around 5 years. I told him what I knew by then about my abuse and how I had survived. I need to introduce you to my 4th grade girlfriend because I think you two have a lot in common, he replied. Boy, do we ever. She's been through similar abuse to mine. She's also a survivor. She is a Texas girl who lived in Singapore for a while. And she wrote her story in a book titled Finding Your Voice, A Path to Recovery for Survivors of Abuse by Mannette Morgan. Do you think I've read it? Indeed I have. I couldn't get my hands on it fast enough after he told me about her. Since then, Finding My Voice has been about developing my message to teach and mentor others based on my experiences. That all began with a wonderful organization called Light Beamers, which I found through social media looking for direction. The founder of Light Beamers is a master storyteller, encouraging people to use the power of their personal stories to amplify their brands, grow their businesses, and shine their lights, bringing good to the world. For this last reason, I was drawn to see whether she could help me harness the power of my story. I spent a day with this woman pouring out the details of my life as I understood it then. Disjointed and unorganized word vomit is what came out of me. Yet, she urged, you have an incredible story that belongs in this book I'm going to publish next year, full of inspirational stories just like yours. You've been so brave, and this world needs to hear this. We're beginning work early next year, so your timing is impeccable. And so I did. I stepped into my brave and wrote the Cliff's Note version of my story. Step into your brave, uplifting stories to inspire courage, strength, and growth by April Adams Pertwee was published in October of 2022. April is the founder of Light Beamers. April is also my fraternity sister, whom I've known for over 35 years. Before that day, we spent together post-hypnotherapy. We had only superficial contact with one another through social media. When we first met all those years ago, we were just two silly college girls doing what college girls do. Neither of us dreamed back then that all these years later, our paths would cross again in such a profound way. Finding Light Beamers and publishing in Step Into Your Brave helped me harness the power of my story and dip my toe into sharing my experiences, some of which are difficult to speak and hear about in a public forum. I intended to engage with people who needed to know my story, but at the time, writing one chapter in that book was enough for me. One and done. Fast forward 9 months from the launch of Step Into Your Brave, and I started talking to my trauma therapist about forgiveness. Her curiosity about my thinking on this concept started our conversations. Sometimes she likes to pick my brain, researching through me, I think. Those conversations sparked my interest, another step on my journey, in seeing what authors said about forgiveness. So I began researching what was written and found a few things that bothered me. I saw why there's so much confusion about forgiveness, what it is, and how we can get it. I found many, many books on the steps to forgiveness. To me, steps suggest a linear process required to arrive at forgiveness. In my experience, this isn't accurate, and it is not how healing has worked for me. And authors are divided on whether you must first forgive, then heal, or first heal, then forgive. Who knows? Neither is true in my experience, although the latter is closer to what I believe. I don't think healing hurtful relationships is a must-then or cause-effect principle where we must forgive the unforgivable. Instead, the process for me has been healing sufficiently to be able to let go of the negative emotions that bound my heart because of the relationship. I freed my heart from that bondage. Being thoroughly dissatisfied with the results of my research, I began to consider writing a book about my experiences to provide an alternative, frankly, more realistic insight into how the healing process works. And finally, my discussions with my therapist converged with the unsatisfying results of my own research, and my brain began ideating for a book. I decided to write the book that I could not find. And then my Aunt Chito, to whom I dedicated becoming an empowered survivor, died. The day she died was the day I committed to write the book. My why for writing the book is eternally memorialized in the book's dedication. Dedicated in loving memory to Amelia Jimnell Jones Garner, my Aunt Chito, whose suffering in this life ended the day I committed to writing this book. Her lifelong trials inspire me as I seek to help others find and walk their healing pathway. She never had the opportunity to heal, but in death, I hope she is at peace with her God. The day she died, my why for writing this book and for whom became clear. This book is dedicated with honor to her life. This book is also dedicated to every trauma and abuse survivor in this world who needs to heal. As the writing of Becoming an Empowered Survivor gave way to the publishing and launching process, I began to have ideas about launching a podcast. When I have these big ideas, I seek whether they are born of the universe's will for my path or if it's just my ego fantasizing. God has clearly been in control of my path. It's divinely led, as I've been telling people for a few years now. And I don't really have an ego, but still I do the work to seek and find out which is the truth. And if an idea is part of my path, God will make that abundantly clear to me. I've now had several signs before and since, but one of the most profound was my friend giving me that sage advice about creating video content from my blog posts. And there was no doubt about the show's title, Let's Heal, because that's what I'm all about, healing. Incidentally, my friend who gave me that advice is April, the woman who urged me to start writing that day when I poured out the puzzle pieces of my story. And here we are today with the inaugural episode of the Let's Heal show. I hope you've enjoyed it. Mwah!